up this hour on Nielsen and Chase.
Mr. Clemens, once again, I remind you, you're under oath. Why would Laura Pettit remember Andy telling her about the conversation?
Once again, Mr. Commerce, I think he misremembers the conversation that we had.
What's the latest involving Roger Clemens? We'll ask Team 1260 sports legal analyst Eric Macramella.
We congratulate you and your fans. Vince Lombardi is coming home to Green Bay. Congratulations.
With another NFL season ready to kick off, we'll let you know who we think is going to win the Super Bowl.
90% is good, but at the same time, if there's symptoms or if there's things that aren't right, 90% really isn't good enough.
And did we really learn anything from Sidney Crosby's press conference yesterday?
Nielsen and Chase
on Edmonton Sports Radio.
Team 1260.
9:04. We are going to have our Super Bowl picks. That's coming up still. Myself, Chase. We'll let Fraser get in on it as well. We'll give you our AFC champion, our NFC champion, and, of course, the team that is going to take it all. Also, Aaron Rodgers. We were teasing it yesterday. Then everything broke loose with the plane crash in Russia. His interview with the American Mustache Institute. We'll have a little snippet of that for you. Of course, Rodgers will be taking the field tonight as the Packers open up the season against the Saints. And remember, whoever Chaser picks to win the Super Bowl, you will want to take as opposite of team as you possibly can. If he chooses the best team from the NFC North, you pick the worst team from the AFC South. We talked about it yesterday. Who will sign quicker, Dumont or Stillman? I said Dumont. Chaser said Stillman. Stillman announcing his retirement later today.
Stay tuned for Steve Staios' retirement announcement tomorrow.
That's bad luck. That's bad. Or just horrible predictions.
Oh, horrible
predictions.
Kyle Chase, horrible. Kiss of death.
Yep.
Strikes again.
Strikes again. Unbelievable. If you could bet against someone winning the Super Bowl, I'd put all the money I have in the world on whoever Chaser picks in about 20 minutes today. We're going to get a Super Bowl pick from Eric Macramella as well, but some legal issues to talk about with our sports legal analyst. Eric, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I am good. Your producer referred to me as Esquire, and that makes me feel fantastic.
That would make everybody feel pretty fantastic, wouldn't it?
I feel like I need an ascot or something. I need to be wearing something fancy if I'm Esquire.
So for those of us that have no idea what Esquire means at the end of a name, can you fill us in?
Well, in the U.S., they use that as a designation for a lawyer. Here, we're just referred to as greasy.
Eric Macramella, Esquire.
Obviously.
Eric Macramella, greasy. I think Esquire sounds a little bit better, man. Let's start with Roger Clemens. What is the latest on that roid monkey?
The latest on Roger Clemens is that his defense team failed in trying to block a retrial. What they argued was that the prosecution intentionally sabotaged the trial a day and a half in because they didn't like how it was unfolding. The prosecution argued, look, we didn't sabotage it because actually that's one way you can block a retrial. They said, we're just kind of sloppy. We were tired working long days. The prosecution, they have great reputations in Washington. They're terrific, terrific lawyers. The judge said, you know what, I agree. You didn't do it on purpose. You just suck. So just that one day. So retrial is back on. But it's going to be held in April. On April 16th is when the retrial will be held. However, it's possible that Clemens' defense team is going to appeal the decision. So, guys, this could go on for a long time, and that will keep us close.
Well, is it a fail by his defense team to not block a retrial?
No, you know what? When I remember when the mistrial was declared, and I wrote a blog then saying that there are basically three ways that you can block a retrial. One is, that would create an unfair delay for the defendant. You don't really have that here. It would create an unfair advantage for the prosecution. You don't have that here. And number three is when I just said you did it intentionally. There was really no chance that the retrial would be blocked. I mean, there were a few people that came out, a few lawyers that came out online saying, oh, it's over, it's over. Well, no, it's not over. From a practical standpoint, really, the bottom line is this, guys. You ask yourself this question. If there was a retrial, would Roger Clemens be put in a really prejudiced or awkward position? Would his case be a lot worse? And the answer is no. The trial was a day and a half old. A mistake was made. You wipe the slate clean, you hit the reset button, and we go back to trial.
Let's move to Terrell Pryor. And maybe tell us a little bit about, possible legal action that could eventually come from the suspension that he got from the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, interesting case because the bottom line here is the NFL, it looks like, I mean, they'll say that's not the case, but the NFL is disciplining someone for an infraction that occurred while they were not an employee of the NFL. So it's kind of like, one of you, like Dustin, I'm sure you at one point in time you worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and let's say you were caught shoplifting, and then, Astral, your employer now, says, hey, we heard about, how you shoplifted a Boston Cream. You're suspended for 2 weeks. So, that's what made people feel awkward. What the NFL said, the way they justified it, they said, look, we're not suspending Terrell Pryor for the NCAA violation that he was able to escape punishment, which is a 5-game suspension, by sabotaging his eligibility or his college eligibility to gain entrance into the NFL draft. What they said is we have an NFL constitution. Every sport has a constitution. It's wonderful. And the Constitution says the commissioner can take whatever steps he wants in the best interest of the league to address any conduct detrimental to the league. So that is really, really broad language. So they relied on that to suspend Pryor for 5 games. When Pryor was suspended, the NFL said, look, you have 3 days to appeal. Okay, and that's in the new CBA. I think it's Article 46(1)A or something. And Pryor's lawyer, David Cornwell, wrote a letter to the NFL, and he said, we reserve the right to appeal. So they didn't do it within 3 days. In theory, it's possible they could still appeal. His lawyer, though, Cornwell, suffered a stroke, so that's making things a lot more difficult. So could Pryor still appeal? I don't know. But here's the thing, guys. By not appealing, he is forfeiting a lot of money here because 5 games is a substantial portion of the season. So he's forfeiting about $110,000 of his $375,000 salary or so. If he had appealed, maybe they could settle and maybe give him back 50 Gs. So they didn't do that. So you know what? It's still open as to whether he'll appeal. My feeling here is that he won't appeal. He's probably very sad that he's been drafted by the Raiders and is just looking for a way out. And I don't know. Maybe he'll end up as a wide receiver. And he's 6'5".
Yeah, he runs a crazy
runs
40.
40 and about 4.35 or whatever it is. So it looks like he's got wide receiver and all over him.
I just want to quickly go back to that 2-week suspension that you had me getting for the Boston Cream for free, to which I reply, well worth it.
Boston Cream is my favorite donut.
It's right up there.
Yes.
It's a chocolate dip is what I prefer, but Boston Cream is right there as well. I do want to get to Jim Tressel because the Colts hire him on, but they won't be looking to him for advice for about the same time. How does that tie together?
Yeah, that is really interesting. So here is another person who is on his face disciplined for pre-employment actions. That is stuff he did when he wasn't employed with the NFL. So the Colts hire him. The NFL finds out because the Colts didn't advise the NFL when they hired him, and Goodell was like, well, hang on a second. I've suspended Tressel's Ohio State Buckeye quarterback for 5 games based upon what happened when he was part of the NCAA, and we're not going to suspend Pryor or Tressel. So what the Colts did is they asked him to sit out the first 6 games. All right, he hasn't been technically suspended, so from a legal standpoint, maybe it avoids a messy precedent that you can suspend coaches coming in for NCAA violations, but all this is messy. So the NFL basically felt like this stuff, on its face, it didn't appear to be just and equitable. So they wanted the Colts to ask Tressel to sit aside for 6 games, and that's what happened.
Need the 2 teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl from you, Eric.
It's tough. I say AFC, the Patriots bring Randy Moss back, and NFC, I'm picking the Packers just by default. I think the Eagles are going to fall apart. Vince Young has already pulled his hamstring. That's a sign of things to come. I don't see the Saints doing it. I think the Packers have an issue at running back. I do see James Starks supplanting Ryan Grant. I think halfway through the season, I think he's that talented. So I'm saying Patriots, Packers in the final.
And who wins? You got to give us a Super Bowl pick.
Oh, I say the Patriots win. It's their time. They win every few years.
Yeah, you're right. They do. They're in a little bit of a drought right now, so that's extremely difficult.
But Belichick needs to start cheating again. Clearly, when he doesn't cheat, they don't win.
You're right.
Stealing signals.
You're not trying if you're not cheating.
Needs a man in a white shirt
right
somewhere.
Now, please.
Eric, quickly before I let you go, I believe yesterday you told me that you were running your fantasy football draft tonight. Are you the commissioner of that one? Like you run that league?
I am. I'm the sort of the local bookie here. I've been
Nice.
running pools, I think, since I had a little mustache in grade 7. And it's the Soleil Moonfry Football Pool Spectacular. My hockey pool is the Tony Danza Extravaganza.
Oh, man.
The playoff pool is the Eric Estrada Fiesta. So each of the pools has a pop culture reference, and we are very excited for tonight.
Well, best of luck with that.
Well, good work.
Thank you, sir.
All right, see you later, man. That's Eric Macramella, sports legal analyst here on the Team 1260. You know what?
So you and him were separated at birth.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as a founding member of the Juan Rincon Fantasy Football League and Fantasy Hockey League and Fantasy Baseball League, I'm jealous of the Tony Danza League.
I guess.
I'm thinking at some point
Extravaganza.
the NFC and the AFC, being the Juan Rincon Football League and the Tony Danza League,
will merge
and the champions play each other. But that's something that we'll have to get to at a later time.
Hey, Phrase? While they're on their way to ball hockey practice.
Yeah, that's right.
I laughed at the mustache joke you made because I 100% believed the man that he had a mustache in grade 7.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, I didn't have a mustache until yet.
Macramella had the Jerry curl and the mustache.
Yeah, they called him Mini Ice Cube back in the day.
He was a good-looking kid in '95, eh?
They didn't call him Ice Cube, but anyway, I'll go with something
the
else.
Jerry curl
Off
was
the air,
awesome.
of course.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll get the funniest jokes when the mics are off.